Good afternoon. My name is Ala McCoy. I'm Director of Startup Support at the University of Maryland's Ventures. And I'm honored to welcome to today's workshop Harry Geller, a successful serial entrepreneur, angel investor, and experienced startup mentor. Harry Geller is entrepreneur in residence at the University of Maryland as well, and has been mentoring student and faculty startups for many, many years. So today, Harry will talk to us how to start a business real quick and for not a whole lot of money. This is very useful to know, and I know that Harry has done this workshop for us in the past, but he has updated it with some of the COVID information and a few more recent technologies, and a lot of it is also based on his own experience. So just a few housekeeping rules. Please feel free to submit questions via the Q&A function at the bottom of the screen. You can submit the questions anonymously if you would like to. This workshop is being recorded, so if you'd like to stay anonymous, you have a choice to do so. You can also submit any comments via chat, post any links. You can also, at the end of this webinar, you can raise your hand and I can unmute your microphone so you can ask your question live as well. So without further ado, I'm going to stop my video, mute my mic, and Harry, why don't you go ahead and take the lead?
But Ala, you'll ask the questions, right, as you get them?
Yes. Yeah, I'll monitor the Q&A and I'll ask the questions.
Super, right?
Yeah, I'm right here. Thank you so much, Harry.
Yes. Well, welcome. I'm glad to be presenting this, a little bit about me. I've been involved in the University of Maryland either in the business school at the Dingman Center or more recently at Ventures, probably since 2010. So time flies, but I've been at it about 11 years and also have multiple experiences with starting businesses. And I was inspired to do this presentation because both of my sons, when they were in high school, started their own businesses with their own money and put it together extremely quickly. Really, I mean, they might have asked me a question or two, but without much of my help. And I was just amazed that in a matter of a few days, they could do incorporating, IRS, all these things I'm bringing up right now. They did this, in a day or two. And when I first started my business in the late 80s, this took months and tens of thousands of dollars to do the same thing. So I was really inspired to do this because of them. And then most recently, about 3 months ago, I set up a business at the request of the men's basketball team at Maryland to help with the name, image, likeness for the student athletes. And I used this model, again, sort of back tested it to make sure it worked and really had the thing up and running in 3 days. So, what I'm going through with you all, has been tested and does really work. So you can do all these things I've listed in pretty much a day. Sometimes like a business bank may take a day or two, they may have to, approve it 24 hours, but you can set it up pretty quickly. Some of these other things, like website development, trademark, depending how lucky you get, they can be done in a couple days, and again, very cheaply. So why would you consider e-commerce? So, the trend in everything is e-commerce now. Billions of buyers, 21% of the population in the world buys online. A lot of retail purchases. A lot of men shop online. I know I'm one of them. I very rarely ever set foot in a retail store. And, so all trends with e-commerce are improving and moving forward. So it's a good place to be. And what we're seeing with the trend of e-commerce now is it's turning into what we call m-commerce, which is mobile. So, you guys would probably all have experience with buying things on your iPad or your mobile phone. So with half the world owning a smartphone and easy to pay and set up mobile wallets, it's a trend that's going to continue to grow. So as you're designing your websites, going in a pro mobile direction is a good idea. You're also seeing what we call social commerce. So what originally Facebook, Pinterest, TikTok, Instagram were just information sharing platforms. They're now marketplaces, particularly Facebook, which has become a huge marketplace. So social platforms, they're emerging as sales channels. And there's many other ones. I'm just naming the ones that come to the top of my head. So China continues to be the #1 e-commerce force. USA, UK, Japan, Germany, France, and what others ones are listed here. Those are the major countries, but they're the e-commerce trends. So, tailoring your operations to international markets at the start, is highly suggested. Along the trends, let me move the screen here. Yeah, thanks. So, there's multi-channel versus omni-channel. Multi-channel you're offering many different sales channels, but they're not integrated. And omni-channel is now very easy to do through the web. Everything is integrated, available, and connected. So half of American small businesses still don't have a website. So that's an advantage to those trying to compete. And, you can, again, put a whole business, web-based business together very quickly. Any business not on the internet is losing out to the competition. So the initial steps, let me go back. So you can you do a product-based prototype developed in a lab or other. Very important for market validation. Who's your customer? What problems are you solving? How does your product solve these problems? What are the key features of your product? And what is the willingness of customers to pay for your product? A lot of people will say, it's a great idea. And then when you get to, okay, would you pay for this? And they're like, oh, I don't know. So, you really got to dig deep and make sure that you're solving something that people want to buy. So you can test your assumptions, figure out your value proposition. If you're competing with someone, are you bigger? Are you better, faster? Are you cheaper? And then, come out with the minimal viable product, or, the small scale version 0.10. It's not, it may not be the all in product, but, once you've tested your assumption and can validate it, we like to get a product out as quickly as possible. And then you use the customer feedback to iterate and change it. So breaking down the basic quick scaling steps, legal and overhead, sales and production, and marketing. So these are, the buckets you have to cover when you're starting a business. Specifically incorporating, you can use Stripe Atlas, you can use LegalZoom. I use incorporate.com. And a lot of times, like when I recently incorporated a business, I just went to the state, I did it in the state of Maryland, went to the state of Maryland website. They have a pretty user-friendly website to incorporate, and I, saved on the fees that some of these companies will charge you. You can do a IRS employer ID in about 3 minutes just on their website. You can research and file for trademarks on the US Patent and Trademark Office website. Very easy to do. You can go to GoDaddy, and for $6 you can get a URL. Business Bank, there's plenty of them out there. Brex is one example of one. A lot of the big banks like Chase and Bank of America, they do online banking as well, so they're easy to set up. Excuse me. Payment systems, you have Stripe and would be a good one, and then credit cards as well. They're all pretty easy to obtain right now online. For sales and production, the sales channels, really Shopify, Amazon are good ones to start with. You could also do an Etsy store, a Wish store, sell on eBay. For web services and inventory control, there's a lot of different companies out there like ShipStation, Zentail, warehousing, ShipBob. And, so there's plenty of them out there. So you can literally start off yourself, fulfilling products out of your home, but then as you get bigger, move to, one of these easily found online companies. And, accounting systems, QuickBooks, Xero are out there. You can prototyping even at University of Maryland. They have Terrapin Works, very easy to prototype there. Returns management, there's plenty of companies out there. Alibaba, I've used them a lot in various businesses I've owned in China, and they're pretty easy to navigate. You got to spend a little time on their website, but once you do, it's not that hard. And they're the people I've dealt with there are pretty trustworthy. You don't always get the greatest product quality because you're trying to translate it, across the world. But, for the most part, it's been a pretty reliable source for me. And marketing, if you want to do a logo, 99 Designs or Fiverr, you can get I've gotten logos done for $50 that are pretty good. Website, I usually use GoDaddy, or Wix. Squarespace is another one. Social media presence, Facebook and Instagram are, probably the two biggest ones. TikTok is more for a younger crowd, but works well. And then there's a host of companies out there that can do SEO marketing for you. An example of one in Columbia, Maryland, I've used in the past is called Web Mechanics, and very helpful company. So I'll reference back to Amazon a little bit. Amazon is, really the first stop. It's a primary sales channel for everyone. Amazon Web Services, if you sign up for them, they'll offer you free credits. You can send them your product and they'll fulfill it and send it out. And you can use their Seller Central, you send the product, they fulfill it and send it out. Or if you sell enough, they'll offer you Vendor Central, where they'll just, you'll negotiate a price with them. They'll buy your whole lot of your product, and then they'll sell it and fulfill it themselves. So I've used both of those and they both work well. Seller Central when you're starting up, and Vendor Central as you get some scale. A COVID example, I think I did this screenshot about March of 2020, and it was just, amazing when COVID hit, how quickly people figured out that masks were to be important. This was really even before they had any mask suggestions or mask mandates, but you can see, a lot of entrepreneurs were already on it, and they immediately used Amazon as their selling channel. So this would be a good example of, people taking advantage of, the pandemic and trying to sell product. And, at the bottom of the Amazon landing page, they have a whole tutorial of how to figure out how to use them. And it's, if you're going to consider selling your product on Amazon, I would suggest you spend a few hours, clicking all these things and learning it. It's very, very helpful stuff. Shopify is another one where Shopify differs from Amazon a little bit, where they're really just the back end of your landing page to accept and fulfill your products. And Shopify, like Amazon, has really easy setup and tutorials. If you're doing multi-channel sales, Shopify is a great one where they can integrate phone and web. And it's like a e-commerce go-to. So Shopify and Amazon are really the two ones you start with. So fundraising, which is always everyone's bane of their existence, but sort of just going to describe different ways to do it. And the first one and probably most popular one is you self-fund or you bootstrap, which is you're putting your own money in, you keep your equity, but you're risking your capital. And eventually, if you do get some scale and want to go out and try to raise money from investors, it looks good to them that you've put some of your own money into it. Some people don't have their own money, and then they would turn to friends and family. Under Armour started with friends and family money. So, small and big companies do that. My experience is with friends and family, if you want to keep them, you're better off structuring it as a loan and better off doing written agreements. So everyone knows what, was given and what is owed. You can also look at crowdfunding, and crowdfunding seems to work best with unique products and art projects. Kickstarter is a good example. Indiegogo, Start Engine are all, good examples of crowdfunding. And it can be a really good sales channel for the right product. You have to go on there, and they have a lot of tutorials of how to get started on it as well. And from my experience with crowdfunding, a really well-produced video does much better than one that doesn't. And but that could be expensive. So it's out there. It's something for you to look at, and but it may or may not be the right fit for your product. There's incubators and accelerators, and they the most famous one, Y Combinator, had when I used to teach in the Dingman Center, I had a few students that have gone through Y Combinator and had a great experience. It's extremely competitive to get in, but something to look at. 500 startups and Techstars are equally valuable ones as well. And there's a lot of local, regional, and national options for incubators as well. So another way for fundraising: loans, credit cards, and debt. So normally with loans, you have to post some sort of collateral, helps to have operating and sales history. Credit cards, I don't necessarily recommend them, but they can work well if you have a big inventory-based business where you're turning your inventory and can pay the credit cards down, but they're expensive. Not going to recommend it to anyone. And there are online options to fast capital like Cabbage and Circle Up and Fundable. And then, if your idea is big enough and compelling enough, you could look at angel and seed investing. I would say, in startup phase 1.0, that's a little bit hard. Friends and family is probably a better way to go. Some of the things to consider when you're getting an angel or seed investment is, you're giving up equity and you're ceding some control, and the investor has a return in mind, and could be putting pressure on you to get that return where your business may need more time. So it's worth pursuing if you have a compelling enough idea, but there's downsides to it. So again, some real life examples. Grip Boost, which was a University of Maryland invention. And we create football gloves and grip related products based off a polymer we invented at University of Maryland and got a license for. And one of our big brand ambassadors is Tyreek Hill, who's a very famous wide receiver for the Kansas City Chiefs. probably have 25 NFL players wearing our gloves. We have pro golfers wearing our gloves and pro baseball players wearing our gloves. So actually this year it's going to do closer to $3 million in sales. And, our primary sales channel is Amazon. And then another University of Maryland invention is Blue Lean, which is a anti-aging cream that has a patent on it using a methylene blue. And again, came out of a lab at University of Maryland. We helped them find a CEO, and now, they're selling, millions of dollars of products. So, and both these companies followed the quick scaling methodology of getting the business up and running. Mentioned my sons, one of them in high school, he came up with the idea to find golf bag replacement feet, which, isn't really solving a big problem, but he was in high school, and he invested less than $1,000, was selling on eBay and Amazon, and did $3,500 in sales in 6 months. And when he graduated high school, he didn't want to do it anymore, so he sold the business for a few $1,000s. So it was a great experience. My younger son Will, now, who's in college, he liked trail mix but didn't like raisins, so he started No Raisins Trail Mix, and he launched it in 3 days. He had over $5,000 in sales on Amazon, and I think he turned it over to one of his friends. He's in college now, so he didn't want to pursue it anymore either. But both of them started these businesses in a matter of a few days, and that's what got me started on this whole kick. So key tools summary. These are some, every day new ones come on, so you have to spend a little time on your search engine, figure out what's the best one for you. And I believe Ala will be sending this or having this presentation available for people as a reference.
Yes, I will.
So the old disclaimer, don't forget to get proper permits and license, insurance, incorporation fees, and pay your taxes. So that is all.
Thank you, Harry. I think this has been very informative. It's a lot of information. It's just amazing that how much you can do in just a few days.
Yeah.
That slide that you showed, that all of these things you did in like 3 days. How long would it take you to have done it, say, 10 years ago?
6 months, $30,000 or $40,000.
Yeah.
And
so, yeah.
And you have the technology now. So every day it gets easier.
Yeah. So I'd like to open the floor for any questions, comments. So again, you can submit them via the Q&A function at the bottom anonymously via chat, or you can raise your hand and ask your question that way. I'll unmute your microphone. And just to mention, I watched Harry help, these kind of startups, in multiple industries, anywhere from, cosmetics. We have the Blue Lean company he mentioned. It's actually a faculty-owned IP startup based on IP license from the University of Maryland. So it's a more of an advanced startup, anywhere to selling raisin milk, selling Chex Mix without raisins, trail mix without raisins. So it's applicable to many things. And I know here you listed lots of resources. And for those of you who may not necessarily be familiar with the University of Maryland resources, some of them are, such as Terrapin Works, but they are available to non-University of Maryland students, faculty, staff, and such.
Yeah, I mean, the resources at Maryland are great, and a lot of this you can just do on your own, and then you can come to us. I'm usually pretty widely available. Olive's very widely available, and we can point you guys in the right direction.
So here's the first question. How did you get the SKUs to list the products on Amazon, and how affordable is that for a business starting with one product?
For one product, it's not that difficult. Amazon, if you go through Amazon, they'll guide you through that process.
So they'll provide assistance.
Yes. And multiple products, it's a little more complex.
I hope that was helpful. And I also wanted to, so while hopefully we'll get more questions, but while you're typing questions, so I also wanted to mention, so here I mentioned trademarks and copyright and such. We have workshops planned going forward this spring about trademarks and how to obtain them, what they are, and how to obtain them, copyright, and some of the other intellectual property protection. So feel free to tune into those workshops.
Yeah, just regarding SKUs, I forgot to mention that Shopify has a SKU generator. Very easy to go on there and just find that out.
And for those who don't know, what is an SKU?
It's a SKU or specific code that you see on a product that identifies. Like a mark.
Thank you. So there's another question. Is there a network within UMD to obtain accountants, lawyers, etc.?
That's probably better by you.
So actually, one of the ways I recommend would be to join University of Maryland. What's the name of the People Grove-based alumni group? So University of Maryland Alumni Association manages an online alumni group where you can log in, create an account, and connect with alumni and start asking around for recommendations. And then so we are not, as a university, we're not allowed to recommend any private businesses. We can't recommend accountants, lawyers, and such. However, you can go on LinkedIn and look around and start asking for recommendations. That's a good way to go.
Another thing to mention is the Dingman Center, which is located in Hall. They have specific hours where you can pitch entrepreneurs, and they also have legal hours where you can go talk to a lawyer, and they can point you in the right direction. I don't believe they work for you, but they will, point you in the right direction. But for basic incorporation stuff and things like that, you can do it yourself online. It's very easy to do.
And I'm gonna post a link so that it's called Terrapins Connect. And you can create an account. It's free, and you can connect to the alumni community and ask these questions or for recommendations. So here is another question. Your son's initial investments to launch their products were $1 to $2K. How did they spend these? Did they have additional capital infusion after?
So they didn't, because my one son who did the golf bag replacement parts, about $500 of the 1,000 or 1,200, whatever the number was, went towards inventory. So in other words, buying the products and buying the shipping envelopes, and then $300 or $400 went to incorporating, setting up the business, the bank, all that. There's a lot of these things have small fees involved, so that's how they spent the money. And neither of them had to put any more money into it, because they both started selling right away and just kept turning the inventory and self-funded from there. So again, a lot of your initial investment might be towards inventory.
Yeah. So and so both of these were small businesses that were using organic growth, meaning they were relying on profits for further growth. If you're planning to start a larger company, that then looking for additional infusion based on your initial sales would be a good idea. If you go to someone and say, hey, I'm making this much money, this much profit, if you would invest in my company or loan me money, I'd be able to make more. So if you can convince them. So any other questions or comments? Okay. What resources are available for producing a product like the face cream or grip products? Is there a factory available that is associated with UMD?
So there isn't, but both of these specific products were invented in labs. So in the beginning, particularly with Grip Boost, because I was very actively involved in that, we were given a small, 100 square feet of lab space and access to chemicals, which we had to pay for, but we just produced the product there. When it got to where we were selling over 1,000 bottles a month, then we had to go out and find a contract chemical manufacturer, which wasn't easy to find, but it wasn't too hard. So we found them. Now we're producing 100,000 bottles each year. And pretty much the same, even though I wasn't actively involved in lean, they pretty much did the same thing where they would small scale in lab to try to get the product out and tested. And then once they reached a small scale, they went to a contract manufacturer. So that's normally the process it works.
Thank you. I also wanted to add that both of those were also based on University of Maryland inventions. And because of that, and they were more for, larger scale business. And they both were eligible for additional funding through TEDCO because of those factors. And so if you're building a company around University of Maryland technology and you can show that this could be a potentially large business, there is funding available.
Yeah.
So here's a philosophical question, Harry. How to generate ideas for a new product and overcome the fear of failure when launching a new product?
Yeah, so generating ideas for new products, places to start are, everyone at some point always says, wow, I don't see this in the marketplace, or there, whatever's in the marketplace doesn't seem to be serving my needs. I might be able to do it better. So that would just be an example of an idea, is just, looking at, specifically products, but it could be services also in the marketplace that aren't being served well. And, trying to do one better, or they're not being served at all. And, you create the product and then try to sell it. So, overcoming the fear of failure, there's no real answer to that other than, to me, I seem to do all these things with ease, but, I have anxiety when I do it, and, can wonder whether it fails or not. And I've had products and businesses that I thought would never get off the ground that did great. And I've had ones that I thought were slam dunks that failed for whatever reason. So, just like anything else, the more you can research it and validate it on the front end before you sink all your time and money into it, the better chance you're going to have of succeeding. But I really don't have any other answers about how to overcome the fear of failure.
Yeah, and just to add to that, generating ideas for a product, one way would be to listen to what your friends and family and people around you complain about. I wish this XYZ was solved, and if you can find a painful problem that you can solve, for which people would be willing to pay money, that would be a good way to generate ideas for a product or a service.
I like that.
Yeah.
So where I have someone asked about contract manufacturing companies, where can we find them? I've just used basic web searches and when we found the Grip Boost chemical manufacturer, I just had a friend I actually went to University of Maryland with, who's a chemical engineer, and he pointed me towards a company, and they couldn't do it, but they gave us another company. So you just got to do your investigations on that. But even just basic Google searches or whatever search engine you use, you'll be able to come up with them. And yes, it is difficult to get them to work with small quantities, and that is always a problem that you'll definitely overpay if you have small quantities, or they may not even want to do it without specific quantities. So, you have to, just keep digging and find until you find the one and you can reach the scale.
And there you go, an idea for product or service, small quantity manufacturing.
I like that.
So yeah, thank you, Harry. How do you when you find manufacturing companies, how do you do due diligence on them? How do you research them? How do you validate them?
You can ask them for references.
References, okay.
Better Business Bureau, find people that have used them. Normally on their websites, they might have a list of people they've done work with.
So ask for references and call, check. Yeah. All right. Thank you. Next question is, do you advise sourcing products through Alibaba?
I have had very good luck with Alibaba myself. Now it takes time. You really got to dig in and check people's ratings. Sometimes you have to request a sample, and it could take some time going back and forth from China to here. And but I have sourced many products through Alibaba and have had a very good experience with them.
Thank you. Next question is, can you post the recording so we'll have references? Yes, absolutely. The recording will be posted on our Startup UMD YouTube channel, and we will also share the slides from today's session, so you will have the links and such. Next question is, what are your thoughts on Amazon FBA?
So initially starting out, I am a fan of Amazon FBA. I think it's the path of least resistance. As you get bigger, Amazon, sometimes, people will go on there and they can copy your idea. A lot of people who have bigger companies on Amazon FBA call it a race to the bottom. So you have to be cautious of that. But, in initial startup, there's them and Shopify. There's just no better way to do it.
For those of us who don't know, what is Amazon FBA?
FBA is fulfillment by Amazon. So send them let's say you're, selling no raisin trail mix. You send them, 300, a skid load of 300 prepackaged no raisins trail mix. And then they take the orders and fulfill them and send them out. And they normally take about, let me see, on a 20, they take maybe 20% of that number of your sales price.
Yeah, but it may be worth it, especially if you don't have ability to go back and forth through the post office and mail things and keep track of that.
Or you're spending 8 hours a day fulfilling products, and with the margins you have, it turns out to be a $2 an hour job. So it's a lot of times it's just better to outsource it.
Yep, absolutely. Do you have any experience getting products made overseas outside of Alibaba?
I have, but in it doesn't quite fit in the quick scaling method, and I'll explain why. So we Grip Boost produces football gloves, which we have done through Alibaba and China, and we started using the same manufacturer for golf gloves, but their quality wasn't that good. But just, through our persistence and contacts, once we, got to a reasonable scale, probably 10,000 golf glove units, we actually had people approaching us from Indonesia and other places, that golf gloves are highly dependent on specific leathers that are produced in Indonesia. So that's where all the golf gloves are produced. But if we wanted one golf glove made, the Indonesian company wouldn't do that. But at 10,000, to 50,000 units where we're at now, it was it was much easier. So again, Alibaba isn't the only one out there, but again, when you're quick scaling, it's sort of like, how do you get something up and running quickly, least path of resistance? That's the way to go. But as you get a little more scale, there are other options out there. But we've had pretty good luck with our Indonesian manufacturers and pretty good luck with our Chinese manufacturers, other than the supply chain issues that are going on now that everyone is facing.
Yep. Thank you, Harry. Any experience using Alibaba for Amazon FBA directly, products sent directly from China?
Yeah, I mean, again, we order the products from Alibaba. They come into Long Beach, California, and a lot of times we just turn around and send it right over to Amazon.
Mm-hmm. Next question is it doable by yourself, or I guess it need to pay someone to teach how to sell on Amazon? They charge a lot of money. Does it worth paying someone?
I would say, I would try to do it by myself. We have tried a few times to. There are people within Amazon. They don't work directly for Amazon, but they're like Amazon influencers, and they can teach you how to get your product, towards the top of the list. But you're right, they are expensive, and we haven't found ourselves, our personal experience, we haven't found them worth the money. It's just better to spend a few hours online and do it yourself.
Thank you. Next, it's a very good question. Did the manufacturers respect your intellectual property?
Manufacturers, yes. Other people on Amazon, no. So if you have a pot, we've had knockoff gloves. Now Amazon has a whole arbitration methodology, and they've been pretty good to us about it, because we've had people who have just completely knocked off our football gloves. We sell them for $39. They were selling them for $25, and it looked like a carbon copy. So I don't really know if the manufacturer, did anything. They're probably not going to stay in business long if they're, letting people just steal the intellectual property. But it's easy enough to do. But Amazon will police it pretty well. You just got to be on them about it.
Interesting. Very good question. And like I mentioned, we have a lot of intellectual property sessions coming up. So if you're interested, please tune into those. Thank you. Let's see. Any more questions or comments? By the way, thank you to those who have been submitting questions. It's always makes for a better conversation. And I know it's sometimes
We've had 0 questions before, so it's nice to answer some.
Yeah, and it shows that there's real interest. And so also wanted to mention that Harry Geller is our entrepreneur in residence, and he is available to staff, faculty, and students from University of Maryland College Park and other universities such as Coppin State, Bowie State University, Morgan State. So in University of Baltimore. So if you're interested, please let me know, and I will send you a link to sign up to meet with Harry individually if you would rather have a one-on-one discussion. That's also a possibility. And Harry is a regular on Sirius. We're currently planning a panel, a workshop with Harry on food businesses. How do you start? So you want to start a restaurant or a food truck. So we're planning that.
I highly recommend you don't, but anyway.
But if you would like to.
So the third question, what about UMBC? Absolutely, all students are welcome as far as I'm concerned.
Yes.
How do I become a startup unicorn? I don't know. When you figure it out, let me know. But what I would just say to that is, to be a startup unicorn, you really got to be solving a big problem.
Yeah, and we have a comment that someone else is envious of your location here, just as I am.
Oh, yes. Yes, I'm in Florida now, so thank you all. But again, you're not going to be selling a small. You're not going to be selling rubber golf feet or no raisin trail mix and become a startup unicorn. So you really, to be one, you have to be solving a big problem, a big data problem, or something in cybersecurity, something where that would generate enough interest to become a startup unicorn. But it's a good goal for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do have a lot of examples of that here at the University of Maryland, and Harry is one of them. Here's another question. What are your strategies for quality control monitoring for manufactured products? Very good question.
Yeah, so in the initial stages, you have to get samples and test out the quality, and when it gets close enough to what you want, then you move forward on the acquiring the product to sell. Part of what we've always done is we rely, we don't want to send faulty product out to clients, but sometimes there are manufacturing flaws. So we have like a no questions asked return policy. So we're a lot of our quality control comes from what our customers say. So, those are two good ways to start by doing it. And, again, if our football gloves rip or our golf gloves rip or tear, we just refund their money or send them new ones, whatever they want. And then we get back on the manufacturer about, could be, a machine didn't sew a seam correctly or something like that.
Thank you. So we have a few more minutes. If anybody has any other questions for Harry, we still have time. And if not at this time, then like I mentioned, let me know, and you can schedule a time to talk to Harry one-on-one.
Yep, that'd be great. I have a product ideas but need significant engineering design.
So the question I'll read it for everybody to hear. I have product ideas, but they need significant engineering design. How do I partner with engineering students at UMD? Can your unit help connect? Yes, I can connect you either with students or with faculty, depending on what you're looking for. You can also look into Maryland Industrial Partnerships product program. So it's a program through the University of Maryland managed by MTech, where a small company would invest $10,000, a university would put in $90,000, and then you would have a $100,000 R&D budget, whereby a University of Maryland faculty or lab would be working on engineering and testing your product. So you would need to make a $10,000 investment into this, but it's a great way to use University of Maryland faculty and University of Maryland lab resources and such to do that. Definitely not worth it for if you're designing feet for golf bags or something small like that for a very small business, but for a more larger type business, it's a great investment. But yeah, yes, please let me know and I can connect you with someone. Here's another question. Do you need a co-founder and how do you find one?
Yeah, so you don't need one, but when a co-founder is valuable is when they have skills complement, if you're not good in a specific skill set and you have a co-founder that is, that's a good partnership. Like, for example, when I started my logistics company many years ago, I was very good with operations and finance and accounting, and I knew how to get something from point A to point B. What I wasn't that good at was sales and marketing. So I partnered with two guys who were really good at that, and we built a really successful company. When I got in the restaurant business, I had success with, I'm not a chef per se, or I like food and understand it, but not like a chef does. So I've always, partnered with, people who have skills complementary to that, are good at that, and I'm better at the back office. So you don't need a co-founder, but a lot of times, if they, offer skills that you don't have, it's a good way to do it. And how do you find one? I don't really know. I mean, sometimes they find you, sometimes you find them. You just kind of got to dig around and see.
Yeah, it's also important to make sure that even if this person has the complementary skill set, that you actually have also personal compatibility, because sometimes people just can't really click and work together for no reason at all. All right, so next question. Did UMD make the pattern for the gloves, or did the manufacturer work with you to develop it?
No, the UMD didn't make the pattern for the gloves at all. We invented a polymer that recoated football gloves out of the university, and they helped us with funding to sell that product. But once we got into the marketplace, we realized that that product was never going to be that big, and my partner was a former football player with University of Maryland and Baltimore Ravens, and he knew a lot about having how to develop football gloves and what receivers wanted. So we did that all on our own. And then you submit the design to the manufacturer, and you go through 3 or 4 different iterations of it, and then you come up with the final design. And more relevant to those who follow football now, our brand ambassador Tyreek Hill, we let him design gloves too. So he submits designs to us, and we make gloves for him.
Thank you. Next question is, how do you talk about your idea without fear that someone will copy or steal it?
Yeah, I mean, that's a very common question I get, and I never worry about that. I mean, if you're talking about it and have the idea and have vetted it a little bit, you're already way ahead of the game. I mean, I wouldn't I've never had a bad experience with how to talk to someone about that, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. I've never in my 11 years of doing this heard an idea that I really wanted to steal. I've heard plenty that I liked, but none. I mean, I'm not there to steal people's ideas anyway, but I've never heard an idea that that would compel me to want to do that.
Yeah, another good way to remember is when you're talking about your product or service, don't talk about how it works. Just talk about what it does. So what problem are you solving? How and why would somebody want to use it, instead of saying here is how it works? And also people like Harry, people like angel investors, venture capitalists, others, they're not necessarily in the business of stealing ideas. They're in the business of funding good ideas. So that said, you should be careful about revealing your secret sauce.
Right. So if you meet with me, you do not need a pitch deck, but it would be helpful to have your your ideas organized. So we have limited time, so the more I could quickly understand what you're trying to do, the more I can help you. But no, you don't need a pitch deck to meet with me.
All good questions. And by the way, tomorrow we have a workshop on how to pitch an idea. And in February, we will have a workshop on how to sell your idea. So Professor Oliver Schlocke from the business school has a very interesting workshop talking about how do you sell your idea. It doesn't necessarily even have to be business idea, but any type of idea. So these are all very interesting workshops. We also had in December a workshop on how do you prepare an elevator pitch. An elevator pitch is a very short pitch, and that workshop is available as a video online on our Startup UMT YouTube channel. So it looks like we are out of time. Thank you so much again for all of the great questions that we got today. I think it's been a great discussion.
Yeah, great. And I, look forward to meeting some of you, even whether it's Zoom or not, but I'm here to help.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Harry. As always, this has been fantastic.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Stay safe.